his wife's fate was less pleasant.
Today we're going to be exploring the analog horror series Pontiac Robotic Archives. Now, if you aren't familiar with the series or my channel, I did do a first part to this video about a month ago, link in the description. As of the time of recording this video, they have recently started their second season about 4 days ago, so I thought it would be a good time to do a part 2. This series revolves around the torture and abuse of a conscious stolen animatronic named Meg by the hands of a very disgusting man named Sylvester. Now, before we start the video, I just really want to thank you guys for the recent support I have been getting so far, especially on my last video. 20,000 views is something I never would have imagined seeing, and it's just been insane. Within a month, I went from pretty much nothing to now being in the YouTube partner program. I really don't have any other words just besides thank you. I'm quite speechless. Anyways, without further ado, let's dive right back into Pontiac Robotic Archives. 11th tape found. The camera seems to be glitching out. As it glitches out, we see the dentist in frame, which we can tell from his blue hoodie. The distortion settles and the dentist disappears from the frame before suddenly reappearing in the frame. He then begins walking backwards, almost like the video is being played in reverse, and we can hear this guttural scream as the camera distorts its color to orange, possibly signifying a fire. The tape then cuts to the end of tape 10, leaving us off of where we were in the previous video, with Meg seemingly short-circuiting in the dentist's backyard. We are now in the perspective of the dentist who, using his hand, knocks Meg's newly rebuilt head off her body. Shortly after this interaction, Meg, for the first time on camera, physically fights back by somehow detaching her wooden leg and throwing it at the dentist directly, possibly knocking him out or just destroying the camera. The tape then distorts again and we could hear,
"This is your fault, Sylvester."
From this point on out, I'll be calling the dentist Sylvester. The 12th tape opens up with the camera pointing down at somebody's feet, probably Sylvester's. We can hear the phrase, "You won't be happy," continuously.
You won't be happy. You won't be happy.
Before the camera pans up and we see the headless body of Meg and scream. Directly after this part, the video has to be played in reverse, and in reverse we hear recorder as the camera pans over to a behind the back view of Meg before shortly ending afterwards. Tape 13 starts out with a brief flash of a room that we haven't seen before. The only thing that I can really identify is a TV, but everything else is kind of not really making sense. It then cuts to Meg seemingly in the backyard as someone asks, "Is this Meg?" They say something else, but I'm not too sure what it is. It then plays the end of tape 11 with Meg knocking out Sylvester. It then pans over to a letter. It's written in Latin, but when translated it reads, "Megan resurrected. Trade show behind the scenes. Meg is captured by the robot. Drive her out through the field. Take it back again. They should be prayed for." This letter is suggesting that Meg's soul was captured within the robot, not necessarily that Meg was captured by a robot. It's not saying Sylvester is a robot. That might just be a weird translation. And quite honestly, I'm not too sure what the rest of the sentence means altogether, but it may be hinting at Meg's soul needing to be quote unquote prayed for, possibly like a ritual or something needing to happen to it for her soul to be released. We are now in the perspective of Meg, who seeked shelter back at Sylvester's house. In the door window, we can see Sylvester, who seems to be locked out of the house. The tape then goes to black, and we can hear Sylvester mockingly say, "I see you," before trying to open the door. It is also at this point we could fully agree on Meg having a consciousness and not just being a mindless animatronic. Tape 14 starts off with a horribly disfigured Megan, and Sylvester seems to have found his way back into the house as he appears in frame, and with him he has a bag of teeth. He begins to take out the teeth one by one and stabs them directly into different parts of Meg's face before shortly after crushing her head. And when reversed, we hear, "Who keeps fixing her?"
Who keeps fixing her?
Implying that Sylvester doesn't know who's been fixing her. And if you pay attention, her face is obviously more intact compared to the last couple of tapes. Meg has been taken to the backyard, and in between shots, we start to piece a story together. Meg, or Megan, was a real person once married to the dentist Sylvester. She would perish after setting her house on fire after finding out Sylvester had an affair with a coworker from the Utopia orthodontist. This was an attempt to kill Sylvester, and she was willing to kill her child in the process as well. But Sylvester would somehow survive this fire and save their child. But this fire would leave him severely scarred, leading him to constantly wearing the gloves and the mask. The news report also mentions that Meg died in the fire due to not being able to escape through a window. This possibly implies that Sylvester had a lot more to do with her death than initially expected. We then transition to inside of a warehouse, and within this warehouse there is a box labeled Utopian Orthodontist Android, with the name of that specific android being Meg. Behind the camera, we can hear a voice of a child say,
"That's a part of my mom's name." Daddy said that man works at Pontiac Robotics. He makes cool robots.
This is confirmed to be Sylvester and Megan's kid. Her name is Sarah. Sarah mentions that Meg works at the Pontiac Robotics and that her father, Sylvester, makes robots. She then begins to talk about another robot named Roger. Sylvester then opens the box, and inside we see Meg. This is the same Meg that we have seen throughout the series so far, meaning that this tape was before the start of the series, but possibly after Meg's death in the house fire, as suggested by this clip.
That looks like Mommy.
We do not talk about her, Sarah.
The only thing that confuses me about this tape is, if it was after the initial house fire, why isn't Sylvester wearing gloves and a mask? And why is he still wearing the wedding band around his finger? Although we cannot see his face, his hands clearly stick out when he opens the box door, and they don't look damaged, so this could be initially before the house fire, but suggested by the clip, this is more than likely after the house fire. We are back inside of Sylvester's house, and Sarah is looking for her toy train. She walks around the house using a flashlight. She eventually shines the light on a door, and we can see behind the door the hands of Meg. Shortly after this interaction, she finds her toy and she picks it up, but her flashlight dies. And then this happens.
Oh no, my flashlight.
We really don't know what happened at the end of that tape, so this just leads us to have to speculate. It could have possibly been Meg running after Sarah, but I don't know if that really makes sense because we haven't seen Meg really move at all besides the end of tape 11. And I don't think she'd be able to move in such a fluid way that consists of her running. Tape 18 seems to leave off of the last tape, and it seems like Sarah's being filmed by someone, more than likely her father, Sylvester. But it could be someone else, as there has been mentions of a recorder in previous tapes. So for this tape, I will be referring to them as the recorder. Sarah seems to be crouched down over Meg and looks to be putting her back together, although it's hard to tell what's really going on. From what we understand from tape 14, someone was fixing Meg, leading to Sylvester questioning who was fixing her in the first place. This possibly gives us our answers to Sylvester's question. Anyways, for the majority of the tape, Sarah is just being filmed, but eventually she notices. The recorder gets spooked and runs upstairs, and in that process, the camera seems to glitch out again, and we can hear someone trying to dial a phone number right before the camera goes completely dark. Tape 19 is a very short tape at only 51 seconds, and within this tape, there is a message for us when played in reverse. A unknown male voice could be heard saying, "Why did you fix her?" Whoever this person is, we really aren't sure. I guess it could be Sylvester or someone else like the mentioned recorder. But given the fact that this ties back to Sylvester's original question on who was fixing Meg, and within tape 18, Sylvester was recording Sarah seemingly fixing Meg, the male might possibly be Sylvester. This leads us to tape 20, where Meg is hauled off in a blue wheelbarrow by Sylvester, while he's being recorded by someone who was directly behind him. Sylvester then throws Meg's deformed body into a man-made fire pit in his backyard. He begins to douse her in gasoline, and as he does, we notice around the 27-second mark that someone in the tape from the left side of the screen begins to pour gasoline onto Meg. Whoever this person is, we don't know for certain. Sylvester then ignites Meg's body on fire, and for the next 9 minutes we watch as Meg burns, with Sylvester seeming to enjoy every second of it. Occasionally, as the footage goes on, the camera looks up and we can see the ashes just flying off of her body. And near the end end of the tape, we get a montage of areas all throughout the house that we have previously been in with Meg being abused. I think this is suggesting Meg's suffering fully coming to a complete end in the same tragic way it ended in the first place. This might also lead back to my suggestion that Sylvester had a lot more to do with her initial death in the house fire than we thought to begin with. The only thing left of Meg's body is just the ash and a piece of what seems to be a hand or a foot. Sylvester picks up the object and throws it, completely destroying Meg in the process. The tape ends, leading us to the newest tape that has recently come out, that being tape 21. This tape opens up from the perspective of Sarah as she draws an eerie family picture. In this picture, we can see that there is someone labeled as recorder. On the next page over, we see that she draws her mother Meg being burned as her father, Sylvester, casually stands next to her. Her father then asks if she'd like to go to White Warbler's Pizza. Sylvester then mentions two animatronic names, one being Roger and the other one being Brody Coyote. The scene then transitions to a different perspective, that being of an employee. This employee then walks into an office and we are met with another man. As this employee walks in, the unknown man asks what he's recording, and the man simply just responds with video logs. The person in the hat is more than likely the recorder, who might be Sylvester. They begin to talk about their company failing in due part to the news of the Pontiac Robotics.
What are you recording? Oh, video logs. Oh, so business is not doing so well. All this news attached to Pontiac Robotics is putting a bad taste in customers' mouths, just because we are heavily associated with them.
I mean, that Meg android that they made is all over the papers. Pontiac used some similar cosmetics to make one of our bots. I mean, it even shares a name. People will associate the two and we'll be ruined.
We've never had problems like this. It's ridiculous to think that this kind of thing can have an impact on our real-life franchise.
We learned that Meg seemed to have been an android that was initially made for this company, and the Pontiac Robotics made the same android by using similar cosmetics and even naming it the same name, Meg. This is all vague, of course, so we aren't getting a full answer to everything. The tape then transitions to inside of White Warblers, where Sylvester is recording the entrance to the Wild Warblers. But before we can see anything on stage, the recorder runs out of tape, and we can hear Sylvester say,
Oh no, Sarah, my video ran out of tape. I guess we will have to go again tomorrow.
There seems to be a daily occurrence of Sylvester going to White Warbler's Pizzas, as at the end of this tape, Sylvester tells Sarah that they will go again tomorrow. It might be possible that Sylvester has a sadistic plan in mind to possibly torture Roger in ways similar to that of Meg. Of course, the reasoning behind this isn't too clear at the moment, as it just seems like Sylvester's going there to record until he runs out of tape, just to leave with Sarah. It's very weird and unclear, but of course this is just the start of season 2, so we are starting to build more and more questions, and I'm sure by the end of this season we will get answers.